What's up, my content connoisseurs? It's Cody. Today we're going to be covering episode 8 of The Mandalorian, the season finale, and dude, what a doozy. Let's take a dive on in. With episode 8 drawing season 1 of The Mandalorian to a close, we are left with a lot of questions, an action-packed episode, and a lot of awesome humor balanced with said action. So with Taika Waititi directing this episode, we get a lot of cool stuff to kind of add to the backstories of some of the characters. Cara Dune, formerly known as a shock trooper under the Rebel Alliance, we find that she's actually from Alderaan, which was destroyed in A New Hope by the Death Star under Grand Moff Tarkin. So it's very understandable as to why she doesn't like the Imperials so much. Then we find out that Greef Karga is actually a magistrate before joining the Bounty Hunters Guild. Those are kind of like lawmakers of like local towns and stuff. So kind of like a sheriff, or it's like a somebody, if you will. And then we also get the official name for the Mandalorian is Din Djarin. This episode also officially reveals his face, Pedro Pascal's face, obviously. So we get a lot of really cool stuff. And being that Taika Waititi has directed this episode, he's also done, stuff like Thor Ragnarok, so we get some of his humor mixed in with a lot of his really good shots and action scenes. So some of the cool stuff that I really enjoyed with some of his banter was like between the scout troopers at the beginning of the episode, how they're also kind of just taking like little pot shots, and it's kind of like, a nod to the fan base that, hey, stormtroopers are terrible shots. It's like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Star Wars joke out there. And on top of that, we also come to find that Moff Gideon was part of the Purge, which ended the Mandalorians on their home planet of Mandalore itself. Also come to find out by the end of the episode, he ends up being in possession of the Dark Saber, last seen with Bo-Katan at the end of Rebels, who was actually bestowed upon it by Duchess Sabine, the former leader of the Mandalorians. So that kind of leaves a lot to be desired as far as questions go. So we actually kind of want to know, well, if Moff Gideon is in possession of this, what happened to Bo-Katan? What happened to Duchess Sabine? Were they destroyed or killed off or put into hiding because of the Purge of Mandalore? So it leaves a lot of, open questions that kind of also are nice ties and nods into the previous shows, again, like Rebels and the Clone Wars. We also get official confirmation on why Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, doesn't so much like droids. So back during the Separatist Crisis, also known as the Clone Wars, more commonly known as the Clone Wars, we find out that his home planet was ravaged by Separatists and super battle droids in general, just mowing down everybody in their path, including his parents, until Mandalorians end up coming down and saving him. And they consider, people of that young of an age foundlings, which is kind of cool because that's what they end up calling the child, Baby Yoda, later on in the episode as a foundling. And so that's going to have Din Djarin, the Mando, take the foundling, and he's going to end up training him in the ways of Mandalore. So that'll be kind of cool to see where his creed of the Mandalorians and his little tribe kind of, take place from there on. We also get some really cool action scenes from other characters. We get IG-11 just coming into town, just going ham on all the, the stormtroopers and stuff, trying to protect the child. And we also get some really cool, back and forth between Greef Karga, Cara Dune, Din Djarin, again, the Mandalorian. That's going to take some getting used to. Instead of calling him the Mando, Din Djarin, that's his official name. It's so cool. By the end of it, we also get the armorer from the first few episodes, who was the tribal leader of these groups of Mandalorians, and she just gets a really cool scene where we find out that most of the Mandalorians have either hopefully left and back into hiding on other planets in the Outer Rim. Most of them might also be dead because we saw a lot of their fallen helmets in a lot of the chunks of their armor. The only one left on the planet, aside from Din Djarin himself, was the armorer who bestowed his Beskar armor to him. So she's kind of cleansing the sanctuary where the tribe was, and so we get this really cool scene where she's just kind of kneeling down, just waiting for the Imperials to come in, and then they're like, where'd they go, and she just gets up and she just absolutely kicks the crap out of all of them. It's super cool. So from there on, it just kind of unfolds into just this massive battle at the very end, where they're trying to escape, and then IG-11 sadly ends up being our second main character lost by the end of the season. The first being Khalil, who is a very sad loss for a lot of us. I liked him a lot. Personally, best character. I have spoken. It's so cheesy, but it's so cool. But so IG-11 ends up sacrificing himself so he can ensure the escape of everybody else who's still left around, which is the child, Din Djarin, Cara Dune, and Greef Karga. So once they come out, they have a final standoff between Din Djarin and Moff Gideon, and it's really awesome. So he puts on the jetpack and he just takes off, and he ends up just taking out the TIE fighter. He throws a bomb on it and it blows up, knocking him out of commission and stuff, so our heroes can make a getaway and stuff. But I think it's really funny because it's kind of like a short nod. I don't know if this is Taika Waititi's doing or if it was Jon Favreau's kind of nod, but Giancarlo Esposito was also the main antagonist for the later 3 seasons of Breaking Bad. And it's really funny because in Breaking Bad, he has a death scene where he's sitting there and he's talking to an old rival of the cartel. And the guy's just, sitting there, and they're planning to kill him, and he's just hitting the little timer on his wheelchair, and it explodes. Right before he does, he's like, no! And he just blows up. That's how they killed Gus Fring in Breaking Bad. And it's kind of a funny little nod, because when he sees the explosive Moff Gideon on his TIE fighter, he has that same exact reaction. He looks at his little radar, and he notices that something's on the TIE fighter wing, and it just blows up, and he's like, no! I got a great chuckle out of that. So it's a hilarious nod. But, so by the end of it, the Mandalorian takes the foundling, the child, and he's gonna kind of go off and find where his home planet is. So this sets up season 2 with, Giancarlo Esposito's Moff Gideon with the Darksaber. So hopefully we kind of get some resolve and see where that's gonna lead. He's definitely gonna be the main antagonist for season 2, and we are potentially going to see where Yoda's species are from. And this is a huge deal for a lot of Star Wars fans, because since Yoda was first introduced, he has never had his race or his home planet introduced in any manner. His species, as we've discussed on previous episodes, are very mythical. They're held to a very mysterious kind of standard, and George Lucas has always kept the standard, and it's the one thing that he's always kind of, kept on the back burner as, hey, Yoda's species, supposedly he has a name for them, but we don't know it, and we don't even know where his home planet's from. Even in old Legends expanded universe material, video games, novels, comics, etc., we don't know what it is, and that's kind of cool to see where it's at. Hopefully they don't go into too much of a direction with that, but it's cool to see that they're going to have that kind of nod. Maybe one of the biggest reveals in Star Wars history that we've wanted since Vader revealed himself to be Luke's father. But, with that said, this episode was fantastic. It was a very action-packed, the best looking one as far as the final episode for the season goes. It definitely kind of looked very reminiscent of, like Rogue One or the Empire Strikes Back, in those just huge battle scenes for such a small-scale planet on Navarro. And it's going to be really cool to see where it sets up for season 2, maybe larger scale battles, more Mandalorians, more backstory, as far as, Moff Gideon goes. Hopefully we see more of Cara Dune and Greef Karga. We definitely got to see more of them and got a little bit more to their backstories, but you know, just a lot of cool stuff is setting up for season 2, and we just can't wait. Sadly, not until fall of 2020, but it's going to be well worth the wait, weekly episodes, and I'm glad that they do it instead of, releasing it all at once. It's going to be fantastic to see where they go with this. So, with that, guys, that's the end of the review. I will be uploading in the next couple weeks a full season review of season 1, episodes 1 through 8. It will be uploaded in a couple weeks. But, I look forward to that. Stick around because we've got a lot more to cover. So, guys, with that, grab a popcorn, have a soda, press play for these reviews. Thanks. Bye.